Hi, before we find out what happens next, make sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. It takes a second and really help us grow. Out to the story.
The kitchen smelled like lemon polish and old decisions. My scrub top was still damp, where a patient had cried into it an hour ago. I hadn't slept. I hadn't breathed. I walked in expecting coffee. Instead, I got my mother's voice like a gavel. "Clara," said Margaret Whitfield, hands folded on the table like she was interviewing a suspect. "Sit." I didn't. "Where's the kettle?" "No time for tea," she said. "This is important." My father, Daniel Whitfield Sr., cleared his throat without lifting his eyes from the placemat. "Best to keep this civil." "Civil?" my mother repeated, almost smiling. "Yes, civil." "Can it wait?" I asked. "I just finished a double." 48 hours, she said. The word didn't land. It detonated. 48 hours for what? "To pack," she said, voice smooth. "Your brother is taking possession. It's his house now." My hand found the counter. "I'm sorry?" Father breathed like he was practicing it. "We've transferred title to Daniel Jr. It's appropriate. He's the son. You're a nurse. You can find a place." I laughed once, a sound with edges. "I'm the nurse who covered your mortgage after the crash. I'm the one who replaced the roof and rewired the breaker when it was sparking." Appropriate is an interesting word. Mother's smile didn't move. "We remember your help, but it was family duty, darling, not a purchase. $80,000 is a duty now?" "Don't be vulgar," she said. "We're offering you grace. 2 days to gather your things." The back door swung and in he came. Daniel, Danny, Whitfield Jr., aviators on his head, aftershave first, a grin that couldn't read a room. He snapped his fingers at the dog that used to be mine and dropped his gym bag by the island like a claim. "Well, look who's home," he said. "Hey, sis, appreciate you keeping the place warm." "Warm?" I said. I kept it standing. He kissed Mother's cheek. "You look great, Mom." "Dad." He turned to me, already bored. "So, yeah, timeline's tight, movers are booked for Saturday. Keep what's sentimental, lose the clutter." "My bed is sentimental," I said. "So are the appliances I bought when the old ones died." Margaret waved a hand. "Let's not quibble over blenders. Stove, washer, dryer, freezer, the water heater." "Clara." Father's voice hardened, thin iron over paper. "Don't make this ugly." "Ugly is pretending I'm a tenant," I said, heat rising. "Ugly is erasing the person who kept your lights on because your son decided being between opportunities mattered more than a job." Danny spread his hands, innocent. I was networking. "You were in Miami," I said, "posting bottle service like it was a resume." He chuckled, unembarrassed. "We can't all do bedpans, sis." Something cold clicked into place in me. Right, because some of us get rewarded for existing. "Watch your tone," Mother warned. "This is family." "Which you are," I said, "as long as I'm paying for it." Father stood, as if authority could be summoned by posture. "Enough. This house has been in our line for generations. It goes to the son. You've had the benefit of living here. Rent-free, I might add, for years." "Rent-free?" My laugh cracked. "Show me a rent invoice I didn't pay. Show me a mortgage statement I didn't cover. I'll frame it." Mother's eyes flashed. "We won't be guilted in our own home." "Your home?" I said softly. "Say that again and listen to yourself." Danny checked his watch. "I've got a call. Can we wrap?" "Clara, honestly, take the guest room furniture. We'll call it even." "Even," I repeated. He shrugged. "You'll land on your feet. Nurses always do, angels and whatnot." I stepped closer. "The angels fixed your plumbing. The angels paid your arrears. The angels patched your father's credit with their savings because family, family, family. And now the angels get 48 hours. Silence pooled, thick as syrup. Mother broke it with a sigh so delicate it was violent. "We're all tired. Your shift, our nerves. Let's be grown-ups. Pack what's yours, clothes, trinkets, keepsakes. Leave the rest." "The rest," I said, "was mine when it was inconvenient." Funny how ownership moves. Father looked at the window, anywhere but me. "You're being dramatic." "Accurate," I said. Danny lifted his bag again, already heading for the hallway. Glad we're aligned. Oh, one last thing. Don't strip the nursery. I'll need it soon. I stared. Nursery? He winked, planning ahead. Unlike some people. Mother beamed, the performance perfect. Isn't he wonderful? Thinking of legacy. Legacy, I said. Right. I took a breath that scraped. Then hear mine. I'm not sleeping under this roof tonight. Satisfaction flashed in Mother's eyes. If that's your choice, we won't stop you. Oh, I'm not asking permission. I picked up my keys, my hands steady now that the ground had stopped pretending to be solid. I'll be back with boxes, not because you graciously gave me 48 hours, because I'm documenting what belongs to me. Danny laughed. What, your high school trophies? The receipts, I said. The transfers, the wire confirmations, the contractor invoices with my name. Funny thing about paper, Danny, it keeps better than memory. Father's jaw ticked. What are you implying? That words are air, I said, and signatures are weight. Mother's smile finally cracked. Don't threaten us. I'm promising myself, I said, and turned for the door. Clara, Father called, voice suddenly small. Don't do something you can't undo. I looked back once at the lemon-polished table where we'd celebrated graduations I worked to pay for. Birthdays I baked, holidays I hosted so my mother could sit and praise herself for the menu I cooked. Already done, I said. On the porch, the air was cold and honest. Mrs. Lillian Hayes next door trimmed her roses like she'd been waiting for a cue. Morning, Clara, she said, not looking up. Heard voices. Just echo, I said. She snipped, smiled to the bush. Echo usually means truth got told. Across the street, Mr. Walter Brooks adjusted a mailbox that didn't need adjusting. He lifted 2 fingers in a quiet salute that said, I saw, I'm not blind, I'm here. I got in my car. My hands shook once, then went still as the engine turned. I drove 3 blocks before I pulled over and pressed my forehead to the wheel. 48 hours, or less, if I did this right. I pulled out my phone. Rachel Moreno. The screen blurred for a second, then cleared. Tell me you're at your desk, I said when she picked up. I'm always at my desk, she said. What did they do? Transferred the house to Danny, I said. Gave me 48 hours to disappear. Rachel swore, crisp and elegant. Come now. Bring every scrap of paper you ever touched in that place. And Clara? Yeah? Stop crying, she said gently. We're going to make them do that. I looked at my reflection in the rear view, the nurse who kept everyone breathing but herself, and wiped my cheeks with the back of my hand. On my way, I said. I put the car in gear, turned back toward the street with the lemon-polished kitchen and the people who mistook me for furniture, and drove to gather the only things that matter in a house where love had a ledger, proof and a plan. Rachel's office smelled like strong coffee and printer ink, legal pads stacked on one side of her desk, neat folders on the other. She gestured to the chair across from her, eyes scanning me like she was measuring damage. Start from the beginning, she said. So I did. The year the market collapsed, I was 26, working 12-hour shifts and socking money away for grad school. Then came the call. Clara, the bank is taking the house. We're behind, months behind. I remember standing in the break room with my badge still clipped to my chest, listening to my mother explain through tight teeth how everything would be gone unless someone stepped in. Danny, of course, was in Miami. Networking, he called it, which looked a lot like posting beach selfies while creditors called the landline. It's not fair to ask you, my father had said, voice low, but you've always been dependable. Dependable. My curse word. I drained every savings account I had, even cashed out part of a retirement fund I wasn't supposed to touch. $80,000, wired in 3 separate transfers, each one with my name. I told myself it was temporary, that family meant you get paid back in more than thank yous. Except the payback never came. Instead, I became the fixer. When the roof started leaking, I found a contractor. When the wiring sparked, I called the electrician. When the water heater died in the middle of January, I signed the check. My parents told the neighbors it was their money, But everyone on the street saw me lugging supplies, supervising crews, still in scrubs with circles under my eyes. Mrs. Hayes once said, "You work like that house has your name on it." I told her, "One day it might." I believed it. Rachel tapped her pen against her notepad. "So you've been propping them up for years? No agreements in writing?" "Only the transfers. They begged me to list them as gifts, so it didn't raise questions." Rachel winced. "Of course they did. And now Danny gets it all." I swallowed. He breezes back in, and suddenly I'm luggage. Rachel leaned forward, eyes sharp. "No, you are not luggage. You're leverage. And you're about to become something they underestimated. Dangerous." Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then at me. "Clara, I'm going to pull the deed history and your grandfather's probate records. Something's off. If they rush this transfer, it means they're hiding something." My laugh was bitter. "They're always hiding something." She wrote a quick note, her handwriting a furious slash. "Get me copies of those transfers, every invoice, every receipt." "And Clara?" "Yeah?" "When we're done," she said, her voice like steel wrapped in velvet, "you're going to own more than just the moral high ground." That night, I sat on my bed in the house that was no longer mine, sorting through a box of files. Bank statements, check duplicates, receipts with my initials scrawled by repairmen, proof of every sacrifice. From the hallway, Danny's laugh echoed, low and smug, as he showed our parents pictures from some rooftop bar. "Look at that view, huh? Connections everywhere. This house is going to be my headquarters." Headquarters. I stared down at the stack of receipts in my lap, my hands steady now. If he wanted a headquarters, he'd have to build it from rubble, because I was done keeping this house standing for anyone but myself. Rachel called me 2 days later, her voice clipped with that lawyer tone she used when she wanted someone's full attention. "Clara," she said, "you need to come by the office, now." "I'm on shift. Take your break. 10 minutes, trust me." The line went dead. When I walked into her office, she already had the file open on her desk. A thick manila folder, older paper inside, yellowed at the edges. Rachel didn't even sit down before speaking. "Your parents lied," she said. "Shocking," I muttered, sinking into the chair. "What flavor this time?" "This," she tapped the folder, "is your grandfather's will, the original probate filing from 15 years ago. It names you, specifically you, as the sole heir of the Whitfield property." I blinked. "Wait, me?" "Yes, Clara. Not your parents. Not Danny. You. He left the house to his granddaughter." My chest tightened. "That's impossible. I was 15 when he died." Rachel's eyes softened for a second. "And he still saw more in you at 15 than your parents do at 30. I leaned forward, scanning the document. There it was in faded ink. "I bequeath the Whitfield residence, located at 112 Cedar Lane, to my granddaughter, Clara Whitfield." The signature was there, witnessed, notarized. "So," I whispered, "all these years—" Rachel nodded. "They knew. They hid it. They pretended the house reverted to them, and when you paid the mortgage, they let you believe you were saving their asset, when really you were preserving your own." I pressed my hands to my face, a sound stuck in my throat between laughter and rage. "They stole my inheritance." "They exploited your ignorance," Rachel corrected gently. "But ignorance isn't permanent. Paper trails are." My hands dropped. "So what now?" "Now we file a petition to void the transfer to Danny. The deed is invalid because the grantors never had rightful ownership." She slid the papers toward me. "This isn't just winnable, Clara. It's already won. We just have to walk it into court." I stared at the will, bile and relief tangling in my stomach. "They sat there in that kitchen, told me I had 48 hours, when all along—" Rachel's voice hardened. "They thought you'd roll over. They thought you'd keep being the dependable daughter who cleans up their messes. But now, Clara, you have something stronger than their lies." "What's that?" I asked. She smiled, sharp and certain. "Proof. When I pulled into the driveway that night, Danny's car was parked crooked across the lawn, music thumping. Inside, Margaret's laugh rang from the living room, syrupy with pride. 'Our son is home. Everything's as it should be.' I stood in the hallway, clutching my bag tighter, the will burning in my mind like a match about to catch. For the first time, I didn't feel like a guest in this house. For the first time, I felt like the owner. And I was done letting anyone forget it. I didn't announce it. I just started moving. First thing, receipts. I laid them out on my bedroom floor like cards in a game I'd already won. Roofing invoices, plumbing bills, the water heater replacement check with my name on the line. Every transfer, every contract, $80,000 in black and white. Next, boxes. Danny swaggered in late that night, tossing his keys on the counter. "Movers'll be here Saturday," he said casually. "Don't bother packing the appliances. I'll need them." I smiled without looking up from my receipts. "Oh, you'll need them?" "Obviously." I folded the document neatly into a file. "Then buy them." He laughed, sharp and careless. "You're cute when you pretend you have leverage." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The next morning, I rented a moving truck, parked it right in the driveway where Mrs. Hayes and Mr. Brooks couldn't miss it. The neighbors always watched, but that day they stared like they were watching a show. I carried the washer out first with the help of 2 movers, then the dryer, then the stove. Every appliance I'd paid for marched out of that house and into the truck. Mrs. Hayes leaned over her fence, finally getting credit where it's due. I wiped sweat from my brow. Finally. Mr. Brooks crossed his arms from his porch. About time someone stopped treating you like hired help. By noon, the living room was stripped bare of everything that had ever been mine. Couch, bookshelves, even the lamp I bought during my first year as a nurse. Every receipt taped to the box like a signature. When Margaret came home, she froze in the doorway. "Clara, what in God's name?" "Packing," I said simply. "You can't just gut the house." I pointed to the receipts stacked on the counter. "I can, because I bought it. Every screw, every nail, every appliance. You wanted me gone? Fine. I'm gone, but not empty-handed." Her face reddened, fury spilling through her voice. "You're embarrassing us in front of the neighbors." I glanced at Mrs. Hayes, who was very much pretending to prune her roses while listening. "Looks like they're already embarrassed for me." Margaret hissed, "You're making this ugly." "No, Mom," I said, my voice steady. "I'm making it fair." By the time Danny rolled in, sweat-soaked from the gym, the house looked hollow. He dropped his duffel, staring at the empty spaces. "What the hell did you do?" I crossed my arms. "Took what's mine." He threw his hands up. "You're crazy. Appliances don't make a house." "Neither do you," I said. He stepped closer, trying to loom, but his voice cracked. "You think a pile of receipts makes you the owner?" "No," I said, pulling the folder from my bag, the will inside crisp and devastating. "But this does." His smirk faltered, just for a second. "Enough." I slid the folder back, calm as fire. "Saturday, when your movers come, there won't be anything left worth taking." Danny tried to laugh it off, but his eyes darted toward the truck in the driveway, toward the neighbors whispering over their fences. For the first time, he looked unsure, and that was enough to keep me going. Danny didn't wait until Saturday. He showed up the next morning like a storm in sneakers, pounding through the front door with enough force to rattle the glass in its frame. "Clara!" His voice bellowed through the hollow house. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I was in the kitchen, boxing up the last of the dishes. His echo carried farther now that the furniture was gone. I didn't look up. "Packing. You should recognize the sound. You hired movers, didn't you?" He stalked in, eyes blazing. "You stripped this place bare. The neighbors are talking like you gutted it." "Correction," I said calmly, taping a box. "I removed the things I bought." "There's a difference. You're sabotaging me." I finally met his eyes. "No, Danny, I'm exposing you." His jaw tightened. "You think because you bought a stove and fixed a roof you're owed something?" Newsflash, I'm the son. This house was always mine. I leaned against the counter, arms folded. The son who vanished for 5 years? The son who didn't send a dime while I drained my savings to keep this place from foreclosure? The son who couldn't even spell mortgage if you tried? He flinched, but covered it with a laugh, smug and shallow. "That's your problem, Clara. You volunteered. You wanted to play hero. Don't punish us for your choices." I pulled the folder from the counter, let the papers fall open just enough for him to see the header, Last Will and Testament of Henry Whitfield. Danny's smirk cracked. What is that? Proof, I said softly. Grandfather left the house to me, by name, 15 years ago. You're lying. I slid the page toward him. Read it. He scanned the first line, his face blanching. No, this can't. Dad said. Dad lied, I cut in. Mom too. They hid it. And you walked in here thinking entitlement was stronger than ink. His hands shook as he shoved the paper back at me. This doesn't change anything. It changes everything. For a moment, the house was quiet except for his ragged breathing. Then he slammed his fist against the wall. You can't do this to me! I raised an eyebrow. Do what? Take back what was never yours? He pointed a trembling finger at me. You'll regret this, Clara. When Mom and Dad cut you out, when you're alone. Alone? I said, stepping closer. Danny, I've been alone since the day you decided a beach bar mattered more than your family. The only difference now is that I finally stopped paying the bill for your absence. He stared at me, searching for weakness. I didn't give him any. Finally, he muttered, This isn't over. I gathered the folder, calm and sharp. You're right, it's not. Court's next. Danny shoved past me, storming out the door so hard it slammed against the wall. Mrs. Hayes stood on her porch across the street, pruning shears in hand, staring openly now. Mr. Brooks tipped his cap when Danny peeled out of the driveway. Ugly business, Mrs. Hayes murmured. I exhaled. Not as ugly as it's about to get. The courthouse buzzed like a hive. Heels on tile, hushed arguments, the shuffle of papers heavy with other people's mistakes. I sat beside Rachel at the petitioner's table, my folder of receipts stacked like ammunition. Across the aisle, my parents sat rigid in their Sunday best, Danny between them, jittering his leg like a metronome of arrogance and fear. Judge Ellis entered, stoic, sharp-eyed, the kind of presence that stripped rooms bare. Case number 5187, Whitfield versus Whitfield. Challenge to property transfer. Rachel stood. Your Honor, the matter before you is simple. My client, Ms. Clara Whitfield, was the rightful heir to 112 Cedar Lane, as named explicitly in her grandfather's will. The respondents, her parents, Margaret and Daniel Sr., never had legal authority to transfer ownership to their son, Daniel Jr. The deed executed last month is invalid. She handed the judge the will. The page looked almost too thin to hold all the weight I'd carried for years. Judge Ellis adjusted her glasses. Reed looked up. Counsel for the respondents? My father rose slowly, his voice already shaking. Your Honor, with respect, that will is outdated. My father trusted us to manage the estate. Clara was a child when it was written. Naturally, the property should pass to his grandson, Daniel Jr. Naturally, the judge repeated. Yet the document says otherwise. My mother stood too, smooth and confident. Judge, our daughter has been difficult. She's exaggerating her contributions. Yes, she helped with expenses, but family support doesn't equate to ownership. We simply gave the home to the child best suited to carry the Whitfield name forward. Danny leaned back, smug again now that his mother was talking. Rachel's smile was a blade. Your Honor, may I submit Exhibit B? She held up a binder thick with transfers, invoices, every line item bearing my name. Over $80,000 in mortgage payments and renovations, all covered by Clara Whitfield. Receipts attached. The judge flipped through a few, her expression tightening. Rachel continued, cool and precise. Not only did Clara keep the property from foreclosure, she funded every major repair and improvement over the last 5 years. By contrast, Daniel Jr. has not contributed a single documented dollar. He has, however, posted extensively on social media from Miami, Ibiza, and Cancun during that time. A ripple of laughter broke out in the back of the courtroom. Danny's smirk faltered. Enough, Judge Ellis said, though her mouth twitched. She turned to my parents. So, your daughter saved this house with her own funds. Your father's will named her the heir. And yet, you conspired to conceal that and deed the property to your son. Do you deny it? Silence. Finally, my mother said, We did what was best for the family. The judge's gavel cracked once. What you did was unlawful. The deed transfer to Daniel Jr. is void. Legal ownership remains with Ms. Clara Whitfield. Furthermore, given the deliberate concealment of the will, I am referring this matter for potential sanctions. Court adjourned. The gavel struck again. Outside the courtroom, Danny exploded. You think you've won? You stole this from me, Clara. I'm the son. The son! I turned to face him, calm as stone. You can scream that word until your throat bleeds, Danny. But paper doesn't care about birth order. It cares about truth. My parents looked away, faces pale and tight. Rachel squeezed my shoulder. You did it. No, I said softly. Grandpa did. I just stopped letting them erase him and me with lies. The house on Cedar Lane looked different once the deed had my name on it. Same siding, same porch swing, same creak in the third step up. But it no longer felt like a stage where I played the understudy to Danny's imaginary spotlight. It was mine. And for the first time in years, that word didn't taste like guilt. I spent one last weekend inside, moving through every room with a box of tape and a folder of documents. I cataloged, I measured, I stripped it bare the way I had stripped their lies. Every receipt, every invoice lined up against the walls like soldiers, proof and memory, side by side. When I was done, I didn't redecorate. I didn't repaint. I called a realtor, because I wasn't staying. The house had been my battlefield. I had fought to save it and then to claim it. But peace wasn't found in keeping the ruins. It was found in walking away, untethered. The day the sale closed, Margaret called. Her voice cracked with fury, dressed as disbelief. Clara, how could you sell the house? This is family legacy. I held the phone steady. Legacy doesn't mean letting you write me out of it. You're ungrateful. No, I cut in. I'm free. I ended the call before she could answer. Danny tried next. He showed up at the curb while the movers loaded the last pieces, shouting about betrayal, about how I'd ruined his future. You sold it to strangers, he yelled, face red, fists clenched. That was supposed to be mine. I looked him straight in the eye. It never was. And it never will be. The neighbors were out again, Mrs. Hayes pretending to trim roses, Mr. Brooks leaning on his fence. This time, neither looked away. Danny stormed off under their watchful eyes, his voice carrying down the block like a tantrum too old for his age. When the papers were signed and the check cleared, I left the keys on the counter. I walked through one last time. The walls echoed now, stripped of furniture, stripped of history, stripped of lies. On the porch, I paused. Mrs. Hayes raised her shears in a silent salute. Mr. Brooks tipped his cap again. You did right, Clara, he said. About time, Mrs. Hayes added. I smiled. About time. That night, in my new apartment, the silence felt different. Not empty. Open. Liam and Sophie weren't there to tug at my sleeves. No one was demanding I bail them out. It was just me, a nurse with a battered folder full of proof and a future I finally owned. For years, I thought love meant sacrifice. That family meant paying the bill, no matter the cost. But standing there, free of their ledger, I finally understood. Sacrifice without respect isn't love. It's erasure. And I refused to be erased.